Media influences and forms opinions for people in our society on a day-to-day basis. Opinions are always something that can be looked at as a short-term problem because it's something that can be changed in a short period of time. Unfortunately, sometimes opinions do not change and turn into a form of negative behavior such as ignorance, violence, and hostility. We hear one thing on TV and it sticks with us, and we don't actually look into both sides and look at the situation in depth. I can think of a time where I hear a story on TV or hear part of it, and I go and I tell like 5 other people it, and I only give it to them one-sided, and it's really an unfactual story because we didn't take time to look at both sides of the situation. Good examples of this behavior being demonstrated are in cases such as actions that took place during the Proposition 8 protest and during the Oscar Grant trial in Oakland. Both had people from two different sides with their own opinions stuck in their head based off of stuff that they saw in the media. To prove their side is right, they reformed to like violence and negative behavior when someone would disagree with them. And it turns into a case where the stronger and louder person is always right, even when they're wrong, just because they're physically stronger or more threatening. We witnessed riots breaking out in Oakland during the Oscar Grant trial when his sentence was released to the public, and people were really angry about it, not looking into the whole situation, and people resulted in rioting in downtown and breaking into places, catching cars on fire and stuff, just to show that they were pissed off. And another example for the Proposition 8 protest, people would leave signs on their lawn, and some would have like yes on Prop 8 and some would have no on Prop 8, and people would vandalize houses if they disagreed with that. A good example of that is my sister lives in Sacramento, and she had a no on Prop 8 sign on her lawn. She went to work, came home, and the sign was gone. She walked up to her porch, it's ripped up into like a million pieces, sat on her porch, and her house was egged. And violence and aggressive behavior can be passed as something acceptable to our society. Violence usually refers to physical aggression, and aggression usually is defined as behavior involving an intent to harm another person. According to Richard B. Felsen, not long after the introduction of the television in American households, there occurred a dramatic increase in violent crime. Because we see stuff on TV like people rioting and stuff, and we assume that that's okay, just to get our point across. This is a huge problem we deal with every day because people don't take the time to view both sides of a situation, and they react to prove that their side is correct. Peter McWilliams, a writer of best-selling self-help books, once said, "The news media are, for the most part, the bringer of bad news. And it's not entirely the media's fault. Bad news gets higher rating and sells more papers than good news." It's one thing for us to form an opinion because that is something that can easily be changed in a short period of time. Unfortunately, some opinions form stronger to people and they change their behavior and they react off of negative things. This can be a long-term problem because bad behavior is a really hard thing to break.